is only war.
What is up, gents? 40k Dirtbags. We're doing a video on command point management. This is going to be a split part video. First part is going to be on YouTube. The second part is going to be on Patreons. Thank you to all my Patreons for supporting the channel. Wouldn't be doing this without you. We are so close to 10,000 subscribers. It all starts with you guys hitting the subscribe button and doing all the YouTube shit. But if you guys are new to the channel, we do a lot of tactical videos. We do a lot of battle reports. It's a more of a competitive but chill type atmosphere. If you guys head over to Discord, you guys will find that out really quickly. Also, we have a bunch of stuff coming up in 2024. We're doing 4 GTs coming up. If you guys are going to any of them, make sure you're coming up to me and saying hi, that you're a dirtbag, so that way I can give you some dirtbag dice. But we have Lone Star Open coming up in July. That's going to be the first time me and Mike are heading out to Texas. So if you guys are out in Texas, we will be there. I'm going to be running some crazy shit. I'm sure Mike is going to be running his Chaos. ACO is going to be the most recent tournament. That's coming up in June. I think 20th. The weekend of that 20th, 16th to 20th, maybe. That's Atlantic City Open. We have Nova Open coming up in August. And then LVO, obviously, me might go out to that every single year. The merch is up and running up on Discord. If you guys are interested, make sure you message me privately on Discord. But those widgets are legit. They're orange and bright green. They stand out so much you won't lose them. And we use them literally every single game. They break off into a 3, 2, 1, as well as a 1, 6, 2, 4. So it's used for every single measurement in the game. We are working with Rexar Lasers to bring a little bit more merch to the store. We're going to be doing markers for points, so health markers. We're going to be doing command point markers, 9-inch rulers, measuring sticks as well. All going to be plexiglass. So there's a lot of stuff coming up with that. If you guys are interested in dice, the Dirtbag dice are legit. Ask anybody on Discord. All the stickers up for sale, as well as the proxy models. If you guys are playing Grey Knights, Caldus Assassin, Kodia's so good, so clutch in 10th edition. But that's going to be the merch coming up. So make sure you guys are messaging me for that. And if you guys just want to have that professional coach in your corner, Patreon Dirtbag is the way to go. Competitive Dirtbags, you get $10 a month. You get unlimited coaching for questions, ideas, tactics, and list reviews. And if you guys want to upgrade to the Grandmaster Dirtbags, you get to watch me, Mike, or any of the other coaches play your list specifically live on a battle report, so you guys can see it ran, and you give the first suggestions over on Discord, and you get some special limited edition ivory dice if you guys order anything from the merch store. So let's get into the video. We have everything up and running over on the page right here. So like I said, we're going to do the first 12 of these are going to be free on YouTube. The rest of them are going to be over on the Patreon. We're going to be upgrading the Patreon once we hit 10,000 subscribers. So right now it's going to be $1 a month. We might be upgrading to $5 a month, and then 10 and 25 are going to be the competitive and Grandmasters. Then we're gonna have some stuff in the works. Me and Mike are working on a bunch of stuff, especially with the merch, the hats, the shirts, the Dirtbag shirts. Everything is going to be coming up in 2024. But like I said, we're gonna be kind of just chill back talking about this stuff. This is gonna be my specific things that are gonna help you manage your CP a lot better in the game of 10th edition 40k. So first off, number one of the best resources in the game is the CP. Everything you want to do in the game is CP worthy, whether it be the rerolls, countercharge, any of the stratagems for each detachment is specifically CP. 2 CP are the really strong detachments like Fight First, stuff like that, but the 1 CP, you're going to be trying to use those things as much as possible throughout the game. For Grey Knight's example, you want to mist away as much as possible. You want to come down within 3 inches as much as possible. Like, there's so many good stratagems for each army, but you need CP to actually make the army run effectively and efficiently. So managing your CP is what really going over this video for you guys. So make sure you take notes and go based off of what I'm saying, so that way you can put the notes down and keep practicing every single game that you do. Okay, so for number 2, do you have a way to gain extra CP? There's a couple different things, a couple different armies that you can actually gain extra CP. Those units should almost always be added into your list. Now, sometimes they're really expensive, i.e. Abaddon. Abaddon is 295 points, and then you're going to want to bring a chosen unit to add him so that way he doesn't die in one turn. But Abaddon, now a lot of things you have to kind of see to do the Abaddon CP gaining. So that's going to be tough, kind of add, 300, almost 400 points into your army just to get that CP gain. Simple things like Orcs bringing Gretchen to be on objectives to get your CP, that's almost always in every single list. You have the Stormlord from Necrons just to automatically gain your CP. Same with Eldar. Eldar, you bring this one character, then boom, you automatically gain a CP. A lot of other armies, you have to specifically do stuff like an action to get that CP. But again, if you have ways to get CP in your army, that's going to be so much easier to try and manage it in your game style and in your gameplay, because you're like, all right, I need 3 CP by turn 2 to do this one stratagem. Well, if I can get that there faster by gaining an extra CP every single turn without ditching a secondary, that's going to be clutch. So Codiez is another one from the Inquisition. So you can bring Codiez and it kind of keeps an even playing field. I think that's the next one. So Codiez is the one below that, which we'll go over in a little bit. But number 3 is fixed versus tactical CP advantage. So if you guys are playing tactical, you do get more points by doing the tactical part of it, but it also gives you an advantage by ditching one of the objectives that you can't do that turn to gain a CP. So it's like an extra way to gain a CP. If you're running fixed, you almost always want to bring that extra CP advantage by bringing somebody that can bring CP, because fixed, you're never going to get that extra CP. You can't ditch one of your fixed secondaries to gain a CP, so it's kind of hard to keep CP management if you're running fixed. In our Grey Knight build with our fixed, we always bring Codiez because I want to keep that CP, try and keep it even as much as possible. If your opponent gets a CP on a 2+, you get a CP as well by bringing that Codiez. And again, we do have a Codiez model up for sale to proxy on Discord. So fixed versus tactical is a huge difference when it comes down to managing your CP. I 90% of the time am going to be running fixed. So I'm sorry, tactical, so that way I'm always able to get that extra CP if needed. If you get stuck on turn 1 and you have one objective that you're just never going to do, you're going to ditch it and automatically start off turn 3 with 3 CP. Like that's a huge advantage, whether it be countercharge, fight first, or whatever you have in your army to do. Now number 4 is going to be vecting to cost more CP. So if you have a way to vect, I know it got nerfed recently, going from you can vect anything to now only being able to vect battle tactics. But if you can vect a good battle tactic that they plan on using almost every single turn, you're going to disrupt their CP management so much throughout the game. It's going to mess with their head a lot. So vecting to mess up their CP is huge. With Cypher coming out now, you can basically vect multiple stratagems as long as they're battle tactics within 12 inches of him. So a great one is just a straight up reroll. So if they're trying to make a charge on you and they're within 12 of Cypher and they fail their charge, they have to reroll it. Well, great, that reroll is automatically going to cost an extra CP most of the time, which they don't want to spend or have in that matter. Let's say they wanted to reroll to get into combat, they spend 2 for the reroll, they make it, but now they don't have that extra CP to do the stratagem that they wanted to do. So Vect is kind of a killer when it comes to CP management. The Assassin is still used with Grey Knights almost every single list, just because you can Vect again that reroll, because if they are outside 9 inches for missed for Grey Knights, they're going to almost always want to get that reroll to try and get into combat, because if they come in with a 9, you're just going to miss the way. So they're going to run outside 9 inches of you and try to make that 9-inch charge. So then they're going to save that CP for the reroll, but if you Vect it early on, great, now it costs 2 to make a CP reroll, whether it be rerolling a save, rerolling a damage, rerolling a charge. Anything with a reroll is now going to cost 2 CP. So Vect is huge with messing your opponent's CP management. So let's go with, sorry, messing with that one, this one. So number 5 is Codiez. Like I said, we were going to go over this. So Codiez is a great example of bringing CP and keeping it the same. So we sell him, I already mentioned that, but you're keeping it even for your opponent. So if your opponent, like Orcs, Necrons, Eldar, I'm not sure who automatically gets a CP, but those armies are usually top in the meta. So you're going to be facing them a lot. So bringing Codiez with you is going to be such an even playing field. Any of the Imperium armies, if you just want to spend 75 points just to put him in as a solo character, you can bring the Assassin and him. It's pretty cheap to bring both, but he's actually coming in from reserves on usually turn 3 just to do an action or block out a backfield. So that's kind of how I run my Codias, is you put him in reserves. His ability still works off the table in reserves. So when they do a CP, you can actually roll on a 2+ off the table and still gain a CP on turn 1, 2, and 3. And then turn 3, he'll come on, do an action, do whatever he has to do, block out a backfield, and just be there to keep that CP management even throughout the entire time. So he is actually huge when it comes to helping you out with CP if you have no other way to get CP. Grey Knights, no other way to get CP besides Codias. So if you're an Imperial army and you don't have another way to get CP, he's a great way to add it to keep it even, because if they don't have a way to get CP, great, now he's just an action monkey. If they do have a way to get CP, well, now he's going to help keep that even throughout the entire game. So number 6, will this help and get you points by spending CP? So when you guys are playing the game, anytime you think about using a CP, whether it be a stratagem or a reroll or a charge, whatever it may be, is this going to help by getting you points? So you're like, all right, I have to make this charge. Like if I don't make this charge, I give him, 3, 8, 9, 12 points. If I do make this charge, I gain 8, 9, 10, 12 points. So spending that CP might be worth it for the point, for the secondaries. Now, if you're like, me doing this reroll just to keep one guy alive in the unit is not really going to get me any points. So this guy dying is not going to sway the game. Yes, it sucks losing this one character or this one model, but me making that reroll, 50-50 shot, you're going to fail it, and then you're going to waste that CP by just doing that. So anytime you do a reroll, whether it be the damage, or which we'll get into that's actually, I think, one of the Patreon ones, but if you're going to do the reroll, make sure it's 100% worth it to get you points to try and win the game. If I do it just to do it, not really worth it, and most of the time you can't change the past, like Mike says, so you kind of wasted the CP to do it anyway. So using the CP on something you can control and using it for something you can't control, like a dice roll, that's when you don't really want to be using the CP. So will this help? That's going to be the first question. Does it get me points by spending the CP? If the answer is no, probably not going to waste the time. I've killed a lot of Dread Knights when they're about to die. They kill me to like the wound. Sometimes you might spend that CP because he's either holding an objective or behind enemy lines to get you a secondary, or is not going to get charged next turn. So him staying alive is going to be key. So then I might spend the reroll because there's no other damage coming into him. So like, all right, I have a 50-50 shot to roll this 4+. If I get it, he lives. If I don't, hey, it was worth the CP. But if I spend a CP to reroll like a damage from like a 1 to a 6, still might not be worth it, because then that tank's still going to live and shoot you back and die. So those are the things that are going to be coming up in games where, like, is this actually worth it or is it not? That's one of the biggest questions. So number 7 is don't reroll unless it matters. And that's kind of what goes into number 6 that we were just talking about. So if I'm going to reroll this save, for example, that's probably one of the easiest ones to do it. If I make this save, does it change the game? If I don't make the same save, does this change the game? So that's going to be coming down to that 1 CP reroll. That can be used for a stratagem as well, which again I'm skipping ahead of myself, but most of the time when you guys are using the rerolls, spending the CP, it's such a good resource in the game that I want to kind of save it for the future, because I'm planning in my head a turn or two ahead. A turn or two ahead of time, you're planning what you're going to do. Let's say you have a 10-man unit in a Rhino, and you're going to advance out and then try and get the charge, but you need the 1 CP to advance and charge, and then you also need the 1 CP to get full rerolls, hit, and wound. So if I'm going into the next turn with 1 CP, that kind of negates all my plans. So I don't want to spend that CP now, potentially saving a guy. I'd rather save that CP next turn to use it for what I really wanted to use it for and what I've been practicing using it for. So don't reroll unless it really matters. Now that goes into number 8. Some strats just aren't worth it. There's a lot of strats in the game. There's a lot of core strats that you can be doing that just aren't really worth the investment. There's a lot of stratagems in our books that we have that just aren't really worth it. So Grey Knights, for example, because that's one of our top armies, there's a Haloed and Soulfire. Now, that is when you come down from Teleport Assault or Deep Strike, you can spend it and then not be shot outside 12 inches. Well, I've used that maybe once since the Grey Knight detachment came out. And the other one is the Devastating Wounds. So it's a good idea getting Devastating Wounds, but with no rerolls, you're almost never using it because you have to roll 6s. We already don't kill vehicles that well anyway. So if they make a charge and let's say I have 40 dice, well, if I'm paladins and I'm rolling 2s to hit and then 6s to wound, I still don't think that's worth it unless you're going into like a Satan or a monolith or something like that doesn't really have a ton of mortal wound saves. Then it might be worth it. But if I'm doing just a 5-man unit or a Dread Knight that has 5 attacks and Devastating Wounds on 6s with no rerolls, they're just not worth it to us. That investment of potential is not going to outweigh the cost of spending it for that stratagem. So you're looking at a stratagem, you're like, all right, 1 CP, full rerolls to hit, and full rerolls to wound. That almost every time is going to be used in every game that you play. So that's going to be the CP that I'm specifically saving it for every single turn. If it's one that says, let's say Night Lords, for example, you have to be battle shocked, or you have to be below half strength. There's a condition to need to do in order to use that stratagem. Those usually aren't really worth it. If I have to have the unit at half strength to get full rerolls to wound, that might not be worth it. So you can kind of save your CP on not using those. So there's a bunch of different stratagems that you're like, wow, this is okay, but not needed. So I can save my CP for those because we're not really going to use them. I'm going to build my army based off these other stratagems that are going to be used almost every single time, and I can manage my CP well by using those stratagems. All right. So some strats just aren't worth it. Don't waste your CP on those stratagems. So number 9 is find your most used strats and plan for it ahead. I swear I'm literally doing the number ahead before even like getting to it. So we already just talked about it, where you're basically planning ahead on what you're going to be using those strats for, so that way you can save your CP by doing it. I just checked. This is going to go into number 10 as well. But find the most used strats and plan for it ahead of time. So like we said prior, if I have a strat that gets me 4 rerolls to hit and wound or an advance and charge, well, that combo, I need 2 CP almost guaranteed. So I'm not going to be spending a CP as if I didn't have any strats. So if I'm playing, let's say, Death Guard, who doesn't have the best stratagems in the game, that gives me a little bit more leeway to use like a reroll strat or use making something -1 EP with the bombardment strat. Like, I'm going to be able to use that strat more often because the other strats are just not good. But there's a lot of other codexes where like you got Necrons, you got Eldar, the newer codexes that came out recently, they have a lot of good strats because they have a lot of different detachments that you can use those strats for. So Grey Knights, for example, I'm almost always saving my CP for Mist. You missed almost every single turn in the game. So if I run out of CP and I have 1 CP and I'm not able to mist, that opponent's going to take advantage of it and just charge the crap out of my army and kill me. Another good example for Grey Knights is 2 CP, 1 for mist, 1 for rapid ingress. So when you're able to mist a Dread Knight or a Grandmaster Dread Knight or a unit of Terminators or Drago or whatever it may be, you're able to mist, and then at the end of their movement phase, rapid ingress into a position where it's going to benefit you the most by either keeping up a primary point, stopping them from stealing an objective, or just being a nuisance next turn by setting up a move, a charge with your Grandmasters, get 4 rolls, hit, wound, and damage against a vehicle. That's a good CP planning ahead to keep 2 CP in your back pocket. So there's so many times that you want to miss and then rapid ingress, but you just don't have the CP because you spent it prior. So planning ahead of time on every matchup that you're playing is going to win you more games, honestly, by holding that CP in your back pocket instead of using it just for a free reroll, stuff like that. So number 10, if you need 2 CP next turn, don't spend the CP. This is going to go into our number 11 as well. So 10 and 11 are sit on your hand syndrome. So a lot of times you want to spend it. You want to Overwatch. That's a great example. Overwatching is 1 CP, but you really need everything to together to get an Overwatch to work. Whether it be if you have 10 Flamers in the unit, that's a great unit to spend 1 CP to Overwatch. If you have full rerolls from Abaddon with a Dark Pact, that might be a good unit to Overwatch. But everything else, trying to get 6s, like let's say a Dread Knight, try and get 6s for a side cannon, is not a good investment to do the Overwatch with. So we call it sit on your hand syndrome. If your opponent's going and you're like, you can't Overwatch, but they don't know that, right? They know you have 2 CP or 1 CP. You're saving it for something, whether it be Mist or Overwatch or whatever. You're not doing anything. No matter what happens that turn, you're not doing it. You're just sitting on your hands. You're just shaking your head. No, I'm not going to Overwatch. No, I'm not going to Overwatch. No, I'm not going to Overwatch. They're going to keep asking you, do you want to Overwatch this unit? No. Do you want to Overwatch this unit? No. Some good opponents are going to keep asking you because they want you to Overwatch, because they know if you do, then they can move this other unit up and do whatever. Or if they know that you Overwatch, you don't have the CP next turn to do what you really want to do, or interrupt. If you have 2 CP and you're about to get charged, and you have 2 units that are about to get charged, you want to save that 2 CP to interrupt and join the battle and fight to not have both units die. 2 CP is so key to have on your opponent's turn because there's a lot you can do with it. You can do the counter charge, you can interrupt, you can fight first on some armies. Like, there's a lot of stuff that 2 CP is huge for your opponent, because then it really causes them to think in their turn, shit, do I want to charge these 2 units? Or do I only want to charge 1 unit because I know he can interrupt this with his other unit? And if he does that, then you can spend that 2 CP to countercharge instead of interrupting. So there's a lot of different stuff you can be doing with that CP, but make sure you're using the sit on your hand syndrome, because if you need it, don't spend it. It's so hard to practice that, but top pros know that no matter what, he's not touching his CP because he knows exactly what he needs that CP for. All right, so number 12, this is going to be the last one for the YouTube. The next 5 are going to be up on patreon.com. 6 going to be up on patreon.com. So if you guys are interested in that, head over to the Patreon page, so that way you guys can check out the rest of the tips and support us over at the patreon.com. So if your opponent doesn't do what you expect, you can then spend it, interrupt, countercharge, 2 CP if needed. So what I mean by that is you're expecting them to make 2 charges, or you're expecting them to have 1 in combat and make another charge, so that way if you're a defender you can fight before they do and then interrupt somewhere else. So if you expected them to charge you, but whether they failed their charge or decided just not to charge you because Abaddon is just a beast and they don't want to charge Abaddon, well, great, that changes your plan. Well, now you can spend that 2 CP because you saved that 2 CP for something else, which didn't happen. Now you can spend that 2 CP on something that could help you this turn in combat, whether it be interrupting or countercharging. Countercharging is such a good tactic, such a good stratagem to use to either try and steal an objective back, get closer onto an objective, just tie up a unit that wasn't expected to be tied up. But that 2 CP stratagem wasn't going to be used because I was going to use it to interrupt on this unit over here. But now that he failed his charge or chose to not charge that unit, great, now I have an extra 2 CP that I can just mess around with. I can either use it to rapid ingress next turn. I can either use it to do this crazy stratagem I don't usually do often because I don't ever have the CP for. But that's going to be huge, and that's going to be able to manage your CP effectively, because now something didn't go the way you thought it was going to go. Now you have extra CP. So spend it. Go crazy. If you don't spend it, because let's say they fail the charge, now there's nobody in combat, well, shit, you're going into the next turn with 3+ CP. Like, going into a turn with 3+ CP, even 4 or 5 CP, that's insane. Like, you're such at a huge CP advantage that you can do a lot of stuff that is going to either kill a ton of stuff, get out of dodge with Grey Knights, a bunch of stuff, and just control the board a lot better. The killing power is great with a ton of CP. Armies like Tau love their stratagems by just killing everything off the table with all of their CP. So number 12 is huge, and number 11 is a good combo to try and make sure that you always have 2 CP on your opponent's turn. If you have 1 CP, they can charge you with 12 different units and they have no fear of interrupting. that's a huge advantage to your opponent. But if you have 2 CP, it's a mind game for your opponent. Where are they going to interrupt at? Great example, me charging Mike with 2 of my Warp Talon units. He has 2 CP. Well, great. I charge 1 Warp Talon unit. He then interrupts with the other unit and kills my Warp Talons. I just lost 110 points. And then he's able to go do something else with that unit because they were supposed to die, but they didn't because they had 2 CP to interrupt. So for you, you might only want to charge 1 unit. And then he still has 2 CP. Then he goes in the next turn with 3 CP. Again, same thing. He's doing really good command point management, and it's messing with your opponent because of how good his command point management is. So hopefully these 12 tips helped you guys out and kind of think a little bit differently on when you're going to be spending and not spending your CP management. Again, if you guys are Patreon, you guys just stay tuned for number 13 to 18. But if you guys want to head over and you guys are interested in the competitive scene, having that coach in your corner is really good for the competitive dirtbag support. And then Grandmasters, you guys get a bunch of extra perks that not a lot of people get, because you guys get to see specific stuff played or one-on-one calls once a month to go over ideas, lists, and tactics before your next GT or RTT. We actually get to talk live on Discord for the Grandmaster coaching. So guys, appreciate it. Good luck, and we'll see you in another video soon. What's up, gents? 40K Dirtbags here. If you guys are thinking about joining the Patreon page, we're going to go over each tier and how it's going to benefit you and what you're looking for specifically to get out of 40K in 10th edition coming up. There's a lot of stuff to go over. There's a lot of tactical videos up on the channel, which is for free. There's going to be a bunch of perks that you get specifically for being a part of the Dirtbag Nation Patreon page. So first off, we have the first tier, which is $1 a month. You guys get first access to the videos over at patreon.com. You also get access to the Discord, which is specifically a private link in the Discord that only Patreon members can see. So you guys will have first access to that. Also a benefit is Patreons over the Dirtbag Nation get live streamed games on patreon.com streamed from YouTube, but there's only links specifically for the patreons.com. So not only do you get first access to these videos, you also get to see live stream games specifically only on patreon.com. The next tier is the Justicar. You guys get a shout out on every single video on YouTube. You also get to support us a little bit more. You get first dibs at voting on Discord, as well as you just kind of say, hey, I just want to be a Justicar dirtbag and support you guys a little bit more than that $1 a month tier. But you get all the same access as well as the different color over on the Discord. So the third tier is the competitive dirtbag. This tier, you get a lot more one-on-one coaching. This is a lot of the dirtbags over on the Dirtbag Nation. They are able to send out messages one-on-one, go over list ideas, tactics, anything you guys want to talk about. When I was getting into 40K, or really any game in general, I always wanted to message the top players in the meta and just ask them questions. This $10 a month tier gets you that opportunity to message us one-on-one on Discord, so that way we can actually coach you, give you our insights, suggestions, and that's going to get you better at the 40K 10th edition as a whole. So that tier alone, just $10 a month to have one-on-one coaching, one-on-one messages anytime throughout the month, that's going to be a perfect tier for you guys. Even if you're brand new to the game, we go over 1,000 point list, 1,500 point list, 2,000 point brand new starting list, team list, anything you guys need. That's what the competitive dirtbag tier is for. Also, you get a little bit red number name tag on Discord, so people know that you're really serious about getting into the competitive scene. The Grandmaster Dirtbags. This is the all-in-all $25 a month tier. You get one-on-one coaching, everything we said prior to this, but you guys get to see me, Mike, any of the other dirtbags play your specific list that you want to see tested out live on one of our battle reports. You guys get to mention, suggest videos you guys want to see coming up on patreon.com. So you guys get the above first tier benefit of everything that we do over at Dirtbag Nation. All the support mainly comes from you guys supporting us over here at Dirtbag Nation. And Grandmasters, I can't thank you enough, but for $25 a month, you get one-on-one coaching and anything you want to see live on the tabletop. So you get to see a professional play right in front of you. You guys get to kind of like see it one-on-one, and I'm actually making this specifically for you. There's also TTS events that you guys can suggest. If you guys want to do a first 1 or 2 turn run through on TTS, we can actually log in and coach you one-on-one with that. If you guys see us at any GTs, you guys get special benefits, free dice, stuff like that. Anytime you purchase a merch thing on Discord, you guys get a free limited edition Dirtbag dice sent to you with every single purchase on top of that. So there's a lot of benefits coming up with the Grandmaster Dirtbag. Because I can't thank you enough for supporting us. Definitely let me know which tier would be best for you if you go over to patreon.com and specifically go to a tier. And make sure you don't forget to message me up on Discord. That's where we check every single day. If you guys are really into getting into 10th edition 40K, head over to Patreon, join the Competitive Dirtbag or the Grandmaster. Message me as many times as you possibly want, and I'll coach you the best I possibly can on any specific army that you guys play. Mainly our armies right now, currently, going into 2024 is going to be Chaos Space Marines, Grey Knights, Death Guard, and then we have Custodes, Sisters, and I think that's it going into the Wings of 2024. But again, any other army that you guys play, we have other coaches lined up for the Dirtbags that are ready to take on that role of the Competitive Dirtbag page. So guys, really appreciate it. Thanks for clicking on the video. Thanks for joining the Dirtbag Nation if you guys are already a part of us. And we'll see you in another video soon.